Good afternoon. Let's wait just a quick minute for Miss Eunice to join. Until then, enjoy the vibe. Eunice, you are not live yet. Please come live yet. All
Hey,
right. Welcome.
thank you.
Guess what
How
our
are you?
topic is going to be today?
What are we talking about today?
Why business credit is your secret weapon and how to build it without your SSN.
Mm, sounds good.
I've spoken to attorneys this week. I've spoken to other small business owners. And one of the things that I have come to know is that, hey, this is a secret weapon, right? And like most super secret weapons, people have to learn how to use them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Well,
However, once they have learned how to use them, they could eliminate that excuse of I didn't know. And that is my message to the world. I want to give a shout out to my dude, the coolest dude that I know, Todd, for sharing the hat. You see, it got the nice pink logo. He gave this to me yesterday. He actually even gave me a second one. I'll rock that swag tomorrow, but I think it goes nicely with the gray House Hustlers T-shirt that I have on today. But
mhm.
yeah, when you first see that business credit is a secret weapon, what comes to your mind?
Well, I guess what comes to mind is if this is a secret weapon, how best can I use it to get myself or my business to the point that I've been desiring to? How best can I use this secret weapon to my advantage, really?
Hmm. Basically, you have to ask yourself, if this is a secret weapon, how is it that I could utilize it such that I'm able to win over? I'm not going to use the word beat. That sounds a little negative, but how can I win over my competition?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So now business credit is your secret weapon. How is it that you can use it to win over your competition? So give me an idea of if you had access to enough. I'm not going to say the first word that came to my mind was if you had access to unlimited capital, how would you use it? I think the question should be if you had access to enough capital, how would you use it? What's the first thing that would come onto your agenda as you continue to build out your insurance agency and your real estate business?
Well, for me, the first thing that I really think about is what activities within the business do I do that
One
I'm
thing.
Yeah, so I'm telling you the one thing. I'm going to use it towards the activities within the business that I would rather have someone else or someone's expertise do it. So, for example, marketing, I'd have someone take over that responsibility and use those funds to be able to do the necessary work that's required to be able to market.
So I heard that if you had enough funds, you would either hire on a person to be responsible for marketing, almost like a fractional CMO, Chief Marketing Officer,
Hmm.
or you would hire on a third party and have that third party be responsible for
Yes.
marketing. Okay. So have,
Currently, currently as a business owner, of course, I'm responsible for everything and I'm doing pretty much everything. And part of having access to funds for me, the way I see it is if I can delegate a portion or some of the duties that I have to do to someone who is in that field and more knowledgeable than me, that's going to help grow my business. Once I can get somebody to do that, market the business, have those leads coming in, then I'll be able to close more because now I have more time to have those conversations to close versus me doing the actual work of marketing.
hmm. Now, if you hired on that person to do your marketing, how would you utilize that time that you have back?
So the time back would then allow me to focus more on connecting with my clients. So I will have more time to have those conversations with clients to walk through whether it's policies or whether it's through contracts or residential contracts with them, go out and do showings and things of that sort. So it allow me to be more involved with my clients versus, trying to split my time between driving or having conversations with clients and sitting in the car and trying to post something on social media. It just
Okay.
means it benefits both me as well as my clients, in that my clients will have more of that time to them to help them address any issues and make sure that we get correct policies for them set up, we get um, documentation that's needed set up and all that type of stuff, and then they benefit in that they get more of me. I benefit that I get to spend more time with my clients. I'm more of a believer in relationships with all my clients. So I would rather that than to spend a lot of time on doing the other stuff. That's equally important, but
I get it. By having access to additional capital, that will allow for you to outsource marketing, which is actually your lead generation component. You really don't have a business if you don't have leads, good quality, qualified leads coming in. You don't really have a business, but because you don't have to focus on the marketing component of your business, that then allows for you to be able to dedicate more time to your customer so that you could increase that customer experience. Did I hear you correctly?
that's correct.
All right, so now taking off the top shelf the fact that you have gotten marketing right, you have your customers coming in, you have more free time to spend with your clients so that you could increase their engagement. What would be the next thing that you would do?
Hmm. Let me think about it. I don't know. I think I'm thinking the next thing would be, how else can I grow this business? What other things do I need to deploy or to have so that I can grow this business? I believe that there is many other ways in which I can be more effective than doing marketing. So marketing is one of them. Then there is the financial aspect of making sure that there is, whether it's a CPA, sorry, not a CPA, whether it's a fractional CFO who can make sure that from a financial perspective, we are looking good, we are growing, we are showing that the business is a going concern and that we are looking good from a numbers perspective. I would love to have somebody like that who will take that over or who will take care of that portion of the business. So it's more for me, really, where I am. It's more of making sure that I get the resources that can help with ensuring that as much time that I spend on clients, that the other business activities that may not necessarily be on the forefront are also being taken care of.
Hmm, okay,
Quick
because you got to have.
question. Let me ask you, let me turn it around now.
Oh, you want to turn it around,
I want to turn it around. Yes, I
turn
want
it
to turn
around.
it around and,
Go
and,
ahead.
and hear from you though. Um,
Uh,
for you having that secret sauce,
weapon,
what
not
what's that?
sauce.
Secret
Weapon,
sauce.
sauce.
Well, your secret weapon. Okay, if you have that secret weapon and your eyes have been opened to the world of business credit, you have access to funding. What would that mean for you or for your business? What are some of the things that are like, this is what I need to do as soon as I can get funds?
Well, the thing about it is, I always go back to there's a book by Jim Collins that was written many moons ago. It's called Good to Great.
Mm-hmm.
And with the book Good to Great, there's a conversation piece that is there about having the right people on the bus, right? So there are certain things for which I am very good at, right? And I excel and I get a certain pleasure out of doing those activities. However, there are certain activities that I absolutely despise doing. I would prefer to walk on hot coals rather than do that thing. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, it would always be because, we talked about this last night at the Cash Flow Breakfast Club, Loudon. We had the conversation about the cash flow quadrant. And E is you have a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's only you. You just need to show up. You show up, you clock in your time, you get a paycheck in a week or two. When
Mm-hmm.
you move over to the S quadrant, right, you own a job. You now own a job. So that's where, if you're a dentist or if you are a plumber, right? If you're self employed, you own a job. You get to work the hours that you want to work, but you have to be working in order to be able to earn. So you own that job. You have a little bit more flexibility, but you have to be there in order to make it work. When you move over to the left hand of the quadrant, that's where you become a business owner. That's where you own a system, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in owning that system, you can hire people to work that system for you, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to the I quadrant, is where we are and our business has been built around that. That's when you rely on most of your income to come from investments. So we are in the B and the I quadrant now, right? We're in the B and the I quadrant. So now what we have to do is being in the B quadrant, we have to create the systems and then we have to hire the right people in order to implement those systems,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So definitely a strong component of leadership and hiring is ensuring that you have the right people on the bus. Now that I am spending a lot of time and having a lot of conversations with CEOs, one of the things that they do is they say hire slow, fire fast.
Mm-hmm.
There are different methodologies that you can use when it comes to all of this, but yes, you have to figure out which one works for you. But one of the things that I think that we have learned from reading EOS and having implemented it in our business is the fact that, you know, even sometimes with having the right processes, right, how those processes are used is also going to be critical at the same time. So for me, it's two things: ensure that we have the correct processes within the business so that we could be executing as efficiently as possible. Once those systems are defined, similar to what you were saying, you would hire the right people to put into those positions and make sure that those processes are hitting those KPIs. So that's
Yep.
how, if I had not unlimited, but if I had enough capital in my business, that's how I would be using that capital. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
turn it around, right? And you know what, Eunice?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't say, welcome to Wonderful Winning Wednesday.
I figured you said it because you started without me. So I figured, okay, you probably have said it already. I know how you say that even during the day before we go live. So I figured, I bet he's already said it.
But all
But
right,
yeah, welcome to Wonderful Winning Wednesday. If you were not here at the beginning of this session, this is Eunice with my co pilot Lee, and we have another wonderful Winning Wednesday today where we are talking about why business credit is your secret weapon and how you can use it, how you can build it without your social security number.
all right.
Did I pass?
Now you passed. Now let's double click into why you want to build out your business credit where you don't need to use your SSN, but I want to set the floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why you would use your social security number is because your business is new and doesn't have a credit history. And because your business is new and doesn't have a credit history, that's when you would have to provide something called the PG,
Yeah.
right? Or personal guarantee. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the floor that we want to set. The only time you would ever want to use, right, your social security number for your business is when your business doesn't have a credit history and you need to get credit in the name of the business. So that's the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Let's use the next 10 minutes to talk about a benefit that you have realized from being able to leverage the EIN number for uh, for 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 capital access to capital and credit.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, from a personal experience, first, I find that it's more advantageous for me to really separate myself from the business. So, even with regards to my personal credit is no longer affected by the business, whether the business is doing well or not, or however. My personal credit is my personal credit, and I'm not limiting my family from having added expenses for the business on me personally, meaning that if we wanted to do any other projects as a family, then our debt to income ratio is going to appear higher because I'm also carrying on the debt or some of the responsibilities of the business. So that has really been helpful for me where I'm able to be separated financially from the business. I have my own my own um socials. I have my own credit, and then I have my reduced debt to income ratio because I'm no longer carrying the expenses of the business. The other advantage that I also noticed is that whenever I seek funding, a lot of times I'm able to now get better terms for the business. While before it appeared that, of course, funding was based off of me personally, even though I had what I would call excellent credit, a credit score above 800. I found that whenever I wanted to get credit for the business, right, I always found that the interest rates were not as favorable. Now, with the business established and having been established for a while, even with our own with its own credit, I'm
Mhm.
finding that I'm getting better terms and better interest rates when I do that for the business. And I love that. I think for me, it's just a liberation because I just don't want to really be commingling business and personal. The other advantage would be with the business set up by itself and running by itself. I find that I feel like this is now a true business versus the feeling that I used to have when we initially started, where I felt like it was more of a hobby that was bringing in money into the family, right? It's a
Mhm.
standalone business that if I wanted to have a conversation with someone to say, I'm looking to potentially sell this business, I believe because it's a standalone business that has its own financial standing, that helps the business as well.
Jeez.
You, how about you? Let's turn it
Took up
around.
all of the oxygen. I was going to use the fact that your business needs to be standalone from you.
Mhm.
But one of the things that every business owner eventually would want to exit that business. Either they're going to retire the business and pass it down in the family,
Mhm.
or as an exit from the business, they are going to want to move off, sell the business, and reap the rewards of their labor.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have learned on our journey and having had many different conversations with other small business owners is the fact that your business has an increased value when it has access to lines of credit and loans that aren't tied to you,
Yeah. That.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So
That's a great
very
point.
the very first thing that you have to think about from a business owner's perspective is, am I going to be able to sell my business at a multiple of EBITDA?
Mhm.
The first time I heard EBITDA, which is interest before interest, EBITDA, taxation and amortization, depreciation and amortization, right? You got to go through the head to make sure that you have it right. Your business should be able to sell at a value greater than. Now, if your business has access to a line of credit, $250,000, $500,000 line of credit, and the person who is purchasing your business, because when the business sells, that line of credit moves over with the business. So if your business has access to that line of credit, right, your business is going to be valued more, which would increase the multiple that it would be able to sell on EBITDA,
Mhm.
right? Now, because you have done all of that, your business is a standalone entity, separate and distinct from you, the individual. right? You get to pull out owner's equity, cash flow dividends, or whatever, and move that over to your personal financial resources, and not have an impact on the business.
Exactly.
So I believe that that's the reason why we want to give someone a reason for wanting to separate their personal financial resources from their business financial resources, because eventually they would want to sell that business. And by doing so, they will be able to make that happen. So we are coming to a close of another wonderful Winning Wednesdays. And as we always want to share, I have something that we're going to incorporate into the next call. Eunice, do you want to know what it is? Because we sometimes spend too much time talking about business credit, or we spend too much time talking about cash value life insurance policies. So we're going to tag team between the two. I love when we have an informational format, right? Because we do have several service lines of our business. Our, our business started out because we started flipping houses. And sometimes you got to reintroduce how you got to where you are, and how everything that is tied to our business is vertically aligned, right? So because we started flipping houses and we made beautiful houses, right? When they sold in a day, and they had multiple contracts. So we said to ourselves, let's vertically leverage this. And Eunice got her real estate license, and that's how we set up Homes 365, right?
Yep.
So we have Homes 365, and we're still debating as to whether or not we want to keep it as Homes 365 because it's been that way for so long, or should we turn it into VIP residential, since all of the other portions of our brand line up with VIP and the service line. So with that, right, we created Value Investment Partners. That was our flipping company, but eventually we moved into doing focusing less on flipping and then moving into multifamily, right?
Yep.
So VIP multifamily is all about how we have built out our portfolio. Today we're still invested in about just under 1,000 doors, right? But we still want to continue to grow our multifamily business. But one of the reasons why we went this way was because with the fix and flip, we were getting income that wasn't being taxed. And at the end of the year, we were sending checks, 5-digit checks to Uncle Sam. We didn't do all of this and get into all of this pressure to send checks to Uncle Sam. So we were doing it wrong, right? So
Yeah.
we got into multifamily because we figured that there was a better way. However, we created VIP Insures because when we were employed, we had tapped out our 401ks. We couldn't put no more money there. We had tapped out our HSAs. We couldn't put any money there. So that's when we explored and we found infinite banking or cash value life insurance policies. And then we leveraged those because we needed to protect ourselves. But we also decided, could we do a 529 plan, or could we just buy our children life insurance policies?
Yep.
So we bought them life insurance policies. So I think we just used up 2 minutes of time to explain how we got to where we are and why we are having these conversations, because we have never recommended that someone do something that we haven't already done.
Yeah.
Everything that we are doing are things that we have already done. And guess what? We do learn, because the first cash value life insurance policy that we got, that joker, he screwed us up. But through knowledge comes power, and we learned the right way to do it.
Yeah.
So Understanding that today we spoke about why business credit is your secret weapon and how to build it without your social security number. Due to my business partner called ChatGPT, I have the topic for next Wonderful Winning Wednesday. And that
Mm,
topic is going to be Infinite Banking Explained, how small business owners can become their own bank. I think that that would be a good pivot because a small business owner needs access to capital. How they use that capital is going to be determined by how much does that capital cost. So if
mm,
the business owner can go and tap into a life insurance policy, and let's say that that comes at 4% interest, but if interest rates are really low and they might be able to get something at 2 or 3, they should always go with the line of credit at 2 or 3,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
vice versa. So what we are doing, because as a small business owner, yeah, you can be impacted, right? You can be
Mhm.
gone in a blip or you can become disabled in a blip. You need to have those policies there so that when you are gone in the blip or hurt in the blip, the business can still function,
Yeah.
right? So
Hmm.
next week we're going to be having a conversation around infinite banking explained. The wonderful Eunice is going to say how small business owners can become their own bank. That's the name of the game. So thank you for sharing your time with us for another wonderful winning Wednesday. We are at the 30-minute mark. We want you to stay dry because it's about to rain here in Northern Virginia.
It
And
is raining.
yeah, and stay blessed. Anything before we turn it off, Eunice?
No, thank you for being with us. And for those of you who are business owners who would love to come onto the platform and share a little bit about your businesses, what you do, lessons learned, and things of that sort, please do register to come on to the show with us. On the top left hand corner, on my top left hand corner, there is a QR code that you can scan. Reach out to us. Let's see if we can connect and whether you'll be able to come in and share a little bit about your business and potentially grow your business as well. Learn from you, learn from us. That's how it goes. But thank you all for being here and see you again next week on another wonderful Winning Wednesday. See you next
We're
week.
out. Bye bye.